Good day, everyone. My name is Joseph Moore. I'm one of the pile driving instructors for Local 441 in Hamilton, New Jersey. I want to talk to you a little bit today about emergency barge and ship repair. In our line of work, we run into situations where we might be working on a piece of equipment on the water that starts taking on water. We need to be able to know how to enter into some emergency repairs until we get a permanent repair in place. Before doing any type of repair work inside a barge, when you enter into a hatch, it's considered a confined space. You're able to fit yourself in there. It's not meant for continuous human occupancy, and it has limited means of egress and ingress, so it's considered a confined space. Before that, you're going to need to do some type of air sampling, some type of monitor in there. You need to do it every 4 foot, both vertically and horizontally, to make sure the atmosphere is able to support life. The oxygen level is going to be between 19.5 and 23.5%. On average, it's about 20.9%. So if you're down around the 19.5%, you want to be wary. You want to continuously monitor that atmosphere doesn't change just by you breathing down there. The simple act of rusting inside a barge can consume oxygen inside that compartment. All right. We have a mock-up here of the inside of the barge. You're typically going to have your ribs on 2-foot centers. The channels would typically be about 10 inches high. This would be the side of the barge. We have a simulated hole here. What I would do, the first thing I would do is I would do air sampling to make sure the atmosphere is around 20.9%. I'm going to get in there and start fixing repairs. Before I do that though, I am going to have to get some type of pump going to get the water out. Typically, you should have a pump on board. You want to make sure that pump works. You have the small pumps where you fill up the pump section and it's able to prime itself. You have the bigger trash pumps where again you fill up the pump section and you use the exhaust of the engine to draw a vacuum. Once you have water shooting out the exhaust, you close the ball valve, it's primed, it'll dewater that. You want to get that water level down in an area where you can work the hole. Typically, if I had a hole either on the side of the barge or the bottom of the barge, divers weren't available, I didn't have float stages to get alongside it, I would take a piece of Proclean line. Proclean line will float. I would snake that through the hole. And I would have someone up top looking for it. Typically, the current's going to push it out, either the back of the barge if the current's coming from the front, or out the sides. I'm going to grab a boat hole, and I'm going to grab this propylene and pull it up to the surface where I can work on it. I have some patches made up here. A piece of plywood with a hole in it, a piece of plywood with a carriage bolt. I'm going to put some type of material to clog the hole up. I have a piece of diaper here. You use a welding rag, rubber boot. You have concrete boots. Worst comes to worst. You cut it up in an old life jacket. There's foam in there. Foam works excellent. Foam and neoprene for clogging holes. So what I would do is, I would take this rope, I thread it through part of the patch material, the soft section is going to suck down against the barge, down a stronger plywood backer. Again, you're going to use whatever material you have. In this case, I'm just going to make a simple figure 8 knot. And now what I would do is I'd have someone inside the barge pull this up tight. Again, you're going to knock about 90–95% of the water down to make it manageable. Okay, once I have this here, I can take a C-clamp. I can hook the C-clamp off. I can tie this off to it. If you have a ladder inside, you can tie that off, hold it in place. Differential plate pressure is going to hold it in place. If you need to get it tighter, we can put a simple overhand trucker's knot in it. Bring the line through. Bring it through the trucker's hitch. Use that to pull it tight. And just do a couple round turns. Hold it in tight. Okay, again, this is going to be a temporary repair. You get divers in there. It's going to knock most of the water flow out. Another option we have. This would be very similar to plywood, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a carriage bolt and a strong back. What I would do is plywood with the carriage bolt. Get that on there. Got a nut and a washer. I'm going to open the line up. We'll try and get it towards the end. Allow me to work it through. I'm going to put another nut and washer on it. I'm going to tighten these up so that when I'm pulling through, the rope doesn't come off. I'm going to go down, I'm going to pull it inside, and I'm going to be able to use a welder rod or something to poke that through. I get that through, I undo this. Well, that's all great, Joe, but you know, this washer ain't going to cover that hole. How am I going to tighten it? Do is I just have a piece of flat stock, use a piece of angle. I'm going to put that over there. Just going to go ahead and put nut and washer on this. Tighten this up. Now if I tighten this up and this whole thing spins, I can tighten the nut up. I'm going to hold the actual carriage bolt from this side. Pair of channel locks, vice grips. I hold that and tighten this, and again it'll sandwich up. Now this could become a more permanent fix if you have divers come in and smear splash zone over the top of this. That's a repair that's going to last a couple years. Now, you want to think ahead of time if you're on a barge, stuff that you're able to use in a pinch. Because when these start going down, you don't want to be messing around trying to think of ways. This is something you're going to have every barge. Got a piece of line and some tape. You can take a piece of hauser. I can cut this up. And again, I can just tighten this up and suck it in there. Again, it's going to knock the flow. If you have Oakum on board, which is, I believe it's made from coconut fiber, expands the water, you can try and suck some Oakum in there. Once it gets in there, it'll swell up and seal up. Now, if I have a hole in the bottom of the barge, I can go with the same setups. I can try to snake a piece of line through in an emergency. There's also a way where you can have a permanent repair from the inside of the barge. I have a piece of angle set up here. Just have a nut welded to it. That's going to allow me to thread. This piece of all thread, you can use a piece of all thread or a bolt. If I had a hole in the bottom of this barge, you're going to want to get a piece of heavy plate. You want it to be on the thicker side because when you're welding, you want to keep the heat on the thicker plate. I'm going to have a piece of foam. This foam they sell at Home Depot, Lowe's. You put it over pipes to keep them from dripping or sweating. It works great for patching barges. So what I would do is, I get this set up, and I want to make it long, so if I mess up on my measurements, I'm able to slide one way or the other and secure it. And what I would do is, in this application, until I just want to knock the flow off, is I'm just going to clamp this. I can come down later and weld it. Now I want to make this plate 2 or 3 times bigger than the piece of foam. I'll make the foam 2 to 3 times bigger than the size of the hole. I'm going to slide this underneath, and then I would crank down on this until I get it flat to where I could weld it. I have double nuts here, a jam nut will let me crank this down with a wrench. Again, I could tack this here, here and here. I could slide this jig over, get it all the way down, tight. And now when I weld this, I want to go slow, a little bit at a time. I don't want to heat this plate up enough to where it melts the foam. You're going to have water on the other side, so it's going to cool down relatively fast. Keeping most of your heat on the thicker plate, you would slowly work it all the way around and seal it up. If you do go too fast and overheat the plate and melt the rubber, it's not a worry. Just take your time. As you weld, you'll slowly push where the water's coming out to one area. That's going to be coming out with too much force that it's going to blow your weld puddle out as you go. So what you'll do in that case is you either get a big bubble of weld and leave it there and hit it over. You can try driving a nail in and tacking it, and that'll knock it down to where it's leaking just a little bit or seeping. Give it a couple days and it'll actually rust itself shut. Another option that works real well is if I had a 4x4 and a bottle jack, it works great. You bottle jack this down, gets 100% tight. Again, you'll stop 100% of the flow in the water with a bottle jack and a 4x. And you put this up against the underside of the above deck. You put the bottle jack and crank down, you weld it down. Some other options too is if I don't have this bowl here, you know, again, we're trying to make do with whatever we have available. If I have that bolt there, I can take some plywood, put wedges on either side. And I could tap them in. Again, temporary repairs, divers come. Divers can put a plate on the outside and weld it. They can put splat zone. All depends what option the contractor ends up deciding to do for the repair. Another option, if I didn't have the angle iron, is I could put a piece of plywood down, go up the lower deck, put wedges in, I can drive that in there. Again, you just want to be able to get control, but once you get control of it, it'll allow you to take that someplace to make more permanent repairs. If you're in an area where there's a beach available with no obstructions, nice sandy or nice rocky, you can push it up on the beach and effect repairs. Push it up at high tide, wait for the tide to go out, and do a repair. Another option is if it's on the corner of the barge or up on the rake, if you're able to pick it up with a crane, get it up out of the water enough to make a repair. Most of our holes are going to occur in an area called the turn of the bilge. That's when the side of the barge transitions to the bottom. That area is always in the wet and in the dry, and that's where you typically are going to get most of your rust or electrolysis is going to happen. Another option, another thing that can occur is a lot of our work barges have permanently mounted welders, and they typically ground to the area right now in the welding machine. I found typically a lot of the welds on the barge in that area will rot due to electrolysis. You have dissimilar metals, you have current flowing, going from wherever you're welding on the barge, following the path to the ground back to the machine. So that's another area you want to be aware of. You do better stretching out a stinger and a ground to the area you're working instead of grounding out anywhere on the barge. All right, well I hope this causes you to do a little bit of thinking about what you're going to do in an emergency. Again, the first thing you want to make sure is the environment safe for me to get in there and make the repair? And then you want to have some options available. The biggest thing is don't get panicked, take your time, work safe. We work as a crew, and you'll make the repairs and it'll be safe, and then you'll be able to get to an area where you're able to make a more permanent repair. Thank you, have a good day.